Today I'm going to do that water pump on the 4400 and start taken apart. And I've been working over here at this property. I don't have any tools over here, so I keep going back and forth and back and forth. So we got these. This is a Milwaukee pack out set. It's a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 set in one, 106 piece. And then this one is a 1/2 inch drive. It's a 47 piece. It's got standard and metric, deep and shallow. And then I picked up these wrenches too. So that'll definitely help, and I'm going to leave these pack out boxes at this property so everything's organized. We know there's nothing missing when we go to close them up, and I really like that. So these gloves are tough to get on, so my wife takes them and puts cornstarch down in it out of the kitchen, and then it makes it so much easier. Probably the easiest water pump, other than a 5.9 or 6.7 Cummins, this is probably one of the easiest ones you'll ever do. Of course, the bearing's out of this one, so the pulley wants to move around a little bit, so you can't get these nuts or these bolts loose. So I just put a little more tension on the belt with this ratchet, and then I was able to get that off. But now flip the other way and get the belt off and pull that pulley off of there. I'm wondering if that bearing was locked up, and that's why it was having, or partially locked up, and that's why it was having such a slow crank when I was trying to get it going. I'm not getting much coolant, that's for sure. The pulley's stuck. There's rust on the end of it, so I'm gonna see if I can just sneak it out of there the way it is. Didn't take much. I think some guys I've seen in some of the Facebook groups, they have talked about how these bolts strip out, and I don't know if they're taking it apart, and they're the same as ours, and the ones I've been exposed to is, you know, there's a through nut on these. There's a, you know, a nut on the back side, and sometimes it'll fall, but I don't know if that's what they were up against or not, but regardless, that's what this one is. It's gone for sure. So it's just an O-ring seal, so that's pretty cool. We'll get this cleaned up good. Now, I don't use one of the Scotch-Brite pads on these because it's aluminum. I'll use one of the plastic 3Ms, the yellow or the green. Typically I use the yellow because I think that's a finer grit than the green. I can't remember. I'll look before we do it. But let's get that off. We'll let that drain, and we'll put all these bolts up because we don't have a water pump yet. We need to see if it was a 5 or a 7. They make 2 different ones. Unless you're getting it from the international dealer, then I guess it doesn't matter. Now that that's off, we'll get working on the battery box because we got to replace that in the air tanks. Let's see here, these are the straps, the cables that hold it, and there it rusted right here and put a hole in it. So we'll get the batteries back out. We'll get all this mess out of here. See if we can locate a battery box as well. I was able to get all 4 bolts out. Now I just got to get that out of there. It is so rust jacked in there, it's tight.
Hey, honey, there's a nut or something right there.
It's a dowel for it to sit on. I have to lift it above that.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you knew it was in there.
Rusty. I suppose I'm going to get a hammer and smack on it and knock some rust out, huh?
Yeah. Probably.
Should be coming up some. What's coming? Yeah, it's moving. Every tool has a hammer side.
Even if it's brand new.
This side to lift on. Good grief, man. I'm gonna go get a big hammer.
Wow. That's a crusty mess.
Yep. Now, I have to locate new battery box. Frame looks pretty good. Well, I was thinking I could reuse this up pipe. It's got a hole right here. So I'll have to cut it a little bit here. If the rest of it is okay. Nope. It's got holes right there. Up the very front right there. It's ready to, these break off right here all the time.
Oh, okay.
Being as though I already had it off, I might as well just replace it. So I've got a battery box here on a donor parts truck, but man, the tanks, I fear we're gonna have the same problem up here. I don't want to go through all this work and have to do it again. The battery box is plenty good. So maybe I could rob the battery box and then get 2 new tanks. I might have 2 tanks laying around. I don't know. We'll see. I don't normally do this, but we had put this water pump on a truck, and then shortly after, it had a catastrophic failure internally that had to do with the cam followers. So I just pulled this off. We're going to put it on this one until we know what the fate of this is. If it turns out we're going to build this truck, then we can address that water pump later. I'm not too concerned, but I just want to get it running and put some miles on it. Let's see what we're working with before I go too far, because there's a lot of things like the shocks and the battery box and batteries and exhaust. There's things I have to spend money on, so I'm going to reserve what I'm spending on things that are not necessary until it is necessary, if that makes sense. So I did take that battery box off that truck, and the tanks were, they may not have been bad, but they were going to end up being bad. So I just took them off. I had a couple used tanks that are in really nice shape, so I just swapped them over on here. Now I will have to add a drain here, and probably might have to change out one of these fittings. I can't recall, but regardless, I was able to reuse them straps, which is almost never happens. And I put some foam in between the tank and this metal, so hopefully these things don't rot out as fast as they did originally. So now we're going to put it in. Of course, it's raining. It's that season. It's just going to rain all the time now. So now this is where these 2 Allen head bolts are really helpful, because when you set this up in here, those set right down into here, and then the other one pushes up against here and it lines you up so you can get your bolts in nice and easy. I did say nice and easy. Alright, we are in and all hooked up here now, so we can start with the batteries. And because of what this is, I'm going to install a battery disconnect on my trucks from now on, because the whole battery thing is killing me. I keep buying batteries constantly, and I don't want to do that anymore. Well, I've got this mess back together. I don't like it, but it'll do till we can get it back to the shop. I put the disconnect on the negative side, and that's only because you have bare contacts back here. Something comes in contact with it, it's just going to be another ground. It's not a short. Now, there is a flaw here, because this is the grounds for the engine ECM and the transmission ECM. So I need to remove these from that ground, because currently both of those are powered up. You can't, even if you turn this off, that is still powered up because it has keep alive memory to it. That's what these are. Battery constant powers right here, and the grounds for it. So in order to shut this off completely, these 2 grounds need to go on the switch side, not the line side, but the switch side of this, which would be the bottom terminal. So we'll have to do a little bit more. There's plenty of wire here to make it happen. I just don't have what we need here to do it. So we'll do that soon. But I think we're ready to start it up and run the coolant in. I had to pull these loose from the hangers to get a little bit more length to get into here. We'll probably end up changing this one to a heavier gauge, and then changing that one to a longer one, so we can route it the way we want. We're going to run the coolant in now and make sure everything's okay. Some more coolant here in case we need it. Well, that's the ECM turning on. I can see this is going to be a problem already. I wanted to put this on the driver's side, but I didn't. I think it would be much better suited right here, right inside the... Well, it cranks okay. We'll let it run a while, see if we can build up some air pressure. I've got the back brakes caged, and I need to get that undone so we can actually have brakes and move this thing. We're going to temporary some lights and some mud flaps on it and put some miles on the truck and see what exactly it is or isn't. Well, we're starting to build air pressure, that's good. Well, that ain't so bad. Let's run it in, see how well it runs once it's warm. We still got to fix that surging problem right there. So we just came off of high RPMs and then it dipped. We got to be sucking air. Man, look at all that air. Sucks, you can't, with that label in the way, you can't see what the air coming up. All them air bubbles are still going up. That's how much air is in that fuel. I need to shut this off and get that fixed before we hurt something. So this is really the only thing we disrupted except for the fuel filter. And I just inspected that and look. There's a chunk out of that O-ring. I don't know if that's enough to do it, but it's a good possibility. Let's go get us another O-ring. Well, I happen to have an O-ring, so I put it on. It's a used one, but at least we can test it. Yeah, we'll let it run a while. That may have taken care of it. So far, so good. It hasn't dipped. It's making good air pressure, popping off. I can feel a little shudder there. Before you would rev it up, and as soon as you let it down, it would idle for a few seconds, then it would dip down. I don't know, maybe that O-ring was the only problem. Seemed to be doing okay. We have another problem. One of the ABS valves is stuck open. You hit the brakes and it's exhausting out of the ABS valve. So that'll be another problem to fix. I'll be interested to see if it starts any differently. Alright, we'll let it sit for just a little while and then we'll restart it. See what it sounds like, how it cranks over. Shoot, that's worse. You gotta be kidding me, man. How is this possible? Ugh. Just beating my head against the wall with this truck. Great. Now we have a hot no start. So that leads me to believe we have a problem in the high pressure oil system. So we're gonna let this cool. We'll come back and we'll see if it fires up. If it does, well, then we know where we gotta go. If it doesn't, then I'll have to look into something else. Well, there we go. Inactive faults, active faults. Cruise control switch, exhaust back pressure, above spec. Injection control pressure unable to build, electrical system voltage. Some of this is going to be because the battery was dead or low, unable to build. Or same one, unexpected fault, IDM voltage low. Some of this is because of a low battery. You get low battery on here and probably going to be cranking. So we'll clear these fault codes and then we'll crank it again. Actually, let's go back. Oh, man, a stomach growling. We're going to go back and we're going to look at no ECM detected. Turn that jump box on. I think we lost voltage. No ECM detected. Yeah, I think we lost power. I want to crank it. No ECM detected. Great. So we're back to the same thing with the scanner. You gotta be kidding me. So I'm digging into my scanner here, what's going on, and I found that the one pin here is damaged. Let's see, it is that pin right there. It is damaged and it is lower than the others. And you can see this is soldered in. This right here and this right here is what holds that to the board, and then there's the connections across here. So I'm gonna see if I can locate this connector. It's a 26 pin, whatever this is called, and if I can, man, I don't know if I can solder that. That is pretty tight. Well, I think I have found this connector. The only question is, am I going to be able to desolder all these pins, get this one off, and get the new one on without destroying that board? I've never done soldering that fine. If I don't think I can do it, I'll get it in the hands of somebody who I think can, and we'll go from there. As far as the truck's concerned, you saw all the codes we had, and we're not going to focus on any of those codes that I believe could have been set just because we cranked it for so long and the battery voltage dropped below that threshold. We're going to focus on the one that I think matters, and that is the inability to build high pressure oil. That's definitely, a code that would go along with a no start for sure. If we don't have the scanner, we're going to have to diagnose it without it. It would have been nice to be able to see what the injection control pressure was and to see what the IPR was doing. But we don't have it, so it doesn't mean we can't fix it. We just have to go a little bit different route. We'll bring you along for that. I knew going into this truck, I'd be fighting an uphill battle because of several factors. One, the biggest one, is the truck's got 425,000 miles. Two is the fact it's 20 years old. Three, it's been sitting for many years. It was a very good running and driving truck when I bought it. Age is not kind to anything. However, that is one reason that I have been so conservative on what parts we did or did not buy. Because until I can make the judgment call that that's going to be a good truck, I can't just go spend willy-nilly. Because if we don't build this truck into this, I'm going to take it apart. It still has to run, so we still got to find that problem. But we don't need to buy a bunch of new parts for it that we won't use. That truck would be great for me, and I failed to mention this in previous videos. This is not your standard DT466. This is because most of the ones we see are 210 horse. This is a 285 horse motor. That's fantastic for us. And it's also an Allison 3000 series transmission instead of a 2000 series. So there's a lot of factors about this truck that make it very attractive to me. But if I can't get this truck to a point where I feel like it could be a good, reliable truck that I don't have to work on all the time, it's pointless. We'll have to cut bait. It'll be a parts truck, and we'll start building something else. So look forward to that. Next time you see that truck, we're going to dig into that and see if it is a high pressure oil problem like we think, and how we came about figuring it all out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.